Hi, this is Mike from Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, and this is your Pfaff 130. She's got her new belt on and got her brand new bobbin case, and she's ready to sew. So before we pack her up to ship her home to you, we're gonna go over the basic controls and how to use her. We'll start by winding a bobbin and threading the machine. You'll find your bobbin under the bed of the machine, and you can get to it by pulling out the slide plate. Oops. Ah. But the easy way is just to tip the machine back and lift out the bobbin case. There's a lever on your bobbin case. If you lift that lever and pull it out, the bobbin will stay in the bobbin case as long as you're holding the lever on top. Once you let the lever go, then you'll be able to drop the bobbin into your hand. And this thread right now is under the leaf spring of the lower tension. We'll just pull that right out. And I'm going to take off this little bit of thread that's on here. To wind the bobbin, you put your spool on the spool pin, go around this tension device here next to the first thread guide, and then down into this tension device on the bed, and then up to your bobbin. This is your bobbin winder here. And you want to go from the inside of the bobbin to the outside through the little slot in the side. And hold on to that little tail of thread and give it several wraps just to hold the thread in place while it winds. And your thread is going to wind over the top of the machine, over the top of the bobbin. So it's going to come off of this tension device and over the top. So you put it on, that's how you want to put it on your bobbin winder. And then turn your the rubber tire of the bobbin winder until the little keeper goes into the slot on the side of the bobbin, and that's what locks it in place so it spins with the bobbin winder. In the center of your hand wheel is a chrome knob, which is your clutch knob, and if you turn that knob towards you a quarter turn or so until it hits the stop, that releases your hand wheel, so the motor can spin it and wind and turn the bobbin winder without cycling the whole machine. So we're going to do that. I don't have your gooseneck light on here right now for the test, but it works really well, and I'll pack it with the machine, but wrapped separately. Because the gooseneck lamp shade is kind of fragile, like an eggshell. But when you get it, you can just loosen this screw a little bit, enough so you can slip the little keeper over it, and then you tighten that, and your gooseneck light will hang down that way. And then it plugs right into the back of your motor. It's a two-prong plug, and you'll see two holes in the end of your motor here. And you just plug right in there, and as soon as you plug your machine in, your light will come on. And then to turn it on and off, the back part of the light, the whole thing turns. That's your switch. Click, click, click. Or maybe it's click, click. I don't remember. So we have the clutch knob released, and we're going to press down here so that your bobbin winder makes contact with the hand wheel. And you'll notice that this little finger fell right down into the middle of the bobbin. When you push this down, watch that little finger, just drops right in there. And as the bobbin fills, as it gets closer and closer to full, it's going to push that little finger up until, when it's full, it's just going to click the whole bobbin winder off, so that it's no longer in contact with the hand wheel and it quits spinning, so you don't wind thread all over everywhere. Okay, so now you just give it a little bit of gas, and you don't need to hurry. The faster you go, the more chance you have of tangling things up. So just going to go easy and winding nice and evenly back and forth across the bobbin. And that's about enough for our test. Click it off using that little finger up at the top, and then tighten your clutch knob. Don't over tighten it, just snug. If you tighten it too much, it's kind of hard to get it loose the next time. When you put your bobbin in the bobbin case, you want your thread to be coming off the top in this direction. And it makes a difference because of the slant of this little slot that the thread's going to go in. Put your bobbin in the bobbin case and bring your thread up through that slot and under the leaf spring, and you'll feel a little bit of tension on it, just basically enough to dangle it without the thread unspooling. Then again, holding this little lever up makes a convenient handle too. Also make sure that your needle is not down. If your needle's down in the needle hole, you're not going to be able to push your bobbin case in. So just lean your machine back, and the slot of the bobbin case, right there, that's going to go up, and the lever will come off this side. So with the opening up, hold the lever, lean it back, and don't step on the foot control. And just slide it right in there. Make sure that the slot's facing up, and it'll go all the way in until it clicks. And then it won't fall back out on you. Make sure it goes all the way in till it clicks. To thread the machine, you put your thread on the spool pin. Let's do it this way. You're going to go under the first thread guide and then over that little tension disc that we used when we wound the bobbin. From there, we're going to go between the concave discs of the is it convex? Concave? Must be convex. I think concave is dips inward. Anyway, we're going to go between the two discs of the tension assembly and go all the way. Let's do that again. Go between the two discs of the tension assembly all the way around to the top until you can catch this check spring here. So when you pull your thread down, you'll see that check spring move. Then you're going to go under this big thread guide and into this thread guide here, and you can just pull it around to the back and it'll go right in there. And then from there, you're going to go through your take-up lever from right to left. Doesn't matter which of the holes you use. Doesn't matter if you have too much thread out there because it's a little too flexible. From your take-up lever, you go down to the thread guide on the faceplate. And again, it just slides in from the side to the thread guide on the needle clamp. There we go. And now before you go through the needle, cut a nice clean end on your thread, because if there are little frayed edges sticking out, they're going to deflect your needle and make it really hard to get it through the eye. See, if you get a nice clean end, it just goes right in there. I mean, as long as you're not using too big a thread for the needle you're using. If you're using a thicker thread, you want a little bigger needle. This is a size 14. If you're using a little heavier thread, you might want to use a size 16. If you're using a really thin thread, working on really fine material, you might want to use a 11 or 12. But 14 is a good average size. Now, once you've got your needle threaded through the hole from front to back, hold your thread loosely and turn the hand wheel one full turn towards you. And the needle's going to take the thread down, and the hook will grab the thread and bring it around the bobbin, and then the lower thread will come back up with the upper thread. There we go. Put your thread between the toes of the presser foot and towards the back of the machine. Now the machine's threaded and ready to sew. You can put your fabric under the presser foot, and using the lever on the back, drop the presser foot onto the fabric. This is your stitch width. That controls how wide the zigzag is. This lever here is your needle position. If you want to sew in the center position, or left hand position, or the right hand position, this is where you adjust that. So we're going to stay in the center. Stay in the center notch there, and we're going to have the stitch width on 0 because we're going to straight stitch. This is your stitch length, and this is what controls how much the feed dogs move the fabric with each stitch, and that of course regulates how long your stitch is. So going up from 0, it's numbered from 1 through 5, and as you go up, your stitches get longer and longer and longer and longer until, of course, your longest stitches are at 5 all the way to the top. From the 0 position going down, same thing except in reverse. Your stitches get longer and longer and longer and longer in reverse. If you want your stitches to be exactly the same length when you back tack as when you're going forward, you can set this. Like, say we want to have our stitch length at 1. Move the indicator to 1 and screw the thumb screw down until it makes contact. And then when you back tack, you're only going to go down as far as you want up. So your back tack stitch will be at the same length as the number 1 forward stitch. But we're just going to leave this wide open so we can go full range from 0 to 5. You don't want to be right on 0, because on 0 your fabric doesn't move and your needle goes up and down and keeps building up stitches until you got this lump of thread here, and your fabric gets stuck in place and the knot of thread gets stuck in the needle plate, and you don't want that. It's a mess. Got to stop and cut things out. So for our test, we're going to put it on 1. This is your feed drop. This drops the feed so you can free motion sew. Let's see. Yeah. Now you can move the fabric yourself. The machine doesn't move it. We want it up. When you sew, don't push or pull on your fabric. The fabric doesn't need any help. If you push it along and try to help it, the chances are you'll flex this thin needle, and the needle's going to hit your needle plate or your presser foot, and the needle's going to just shatter and possibly put the machine out of time, and just more trouble than you want. And you can put your eye on it. You don't want that. So I think we're ready to sew. Oh, this is the other thing. This is your presser foot adjustment. And this adjusts how hard the presser foot presses on the fabric. And for normal, regular sewing on regular fabric, you're going to want it about halfway down. It screws down or it screws up. Screws down, it gets more pressure on the presser foot. Screws up, it gets less. So about halfway down. If you're sewing really heavy fabric, you may need to add a little more pressure. If you're sewing something really delicate, you may want to let it off a little. If you're going to darn or free motion sew, embroidery, patching, whatever, you're going to want to screw this up until there's virtually no pressure on your presser foot. And then when you drop your feed, you'll be able to move your fabric around by hand. Okay, so hold your threads for the first couple of stitches so they don't get sucked down. And go easy on the foot control, and off we go. You can go slow, or you can go faster, or you can go real fast. We're going to leave the needle down and use it as a pivot. Raise the presser foot, then you can turn your fabric, and the stitch and the needle stays right in the correct spot. So it looks really nice on the top. It looks nice on the bottom too. Ignore those old yellow stitches. Those are from something else. So that's a really close short stitch. Let's make a little longer stitch. And now you'll see the fabric move faster because each stitch is longer. Here's our longer stitch. Let's shorten that up again. Now make sure your needle is up out of the fabric, and we're going to do a zigzag stitch, and for that you have a scale of 1 to 4, 0 being straight stitch and 4 being your widest zigzag. So we'll just put it on 4, and don't want too close of a stitch. You can do a nice satin stitch, but you may need to use a different foot that's got a little channel on the bottom for that. When you do a satin stitch, it kind of gets raised a little above the fabric, and the regular presser foot can hang up on that. The satin stitch foot has a little channel that lets that seam go through. You see? You can go slow or you can go fast. So that's basically it. You're going to want to oil your machine. If you use it all day, every day, you'll want to oil it every day. If you use it a couple hours a day, every day, you'll want to oil it every week or two. If you just pull it out of the closet once in a while to do a special project or, patch your pants, and it hasn't been oiled in 3 months or so, you're going to want to oil it before you sew, because the oil, it does evaporate. Your user manual will have an oiling guide. I think that this is probably in here. Yeah, it shows all of the oiling points. It also goes over bobbin winding and threading. So yeah, it's a good idea to sit down with your manual, a cup of tea, and just read it through. It'll take you 20 minutes or so to read the whole thing. It's like reading a kid's book, kind of. And let's see. Oh, let's see what's in your accessory kit. It's a little bit busted up. It's been cracked and glued, so. But it's still holding together, more or less. A piece missing out of the end there, but. Let's see. I see a spare bobbin in there, and a buttonhole cutter, and a hammer. That's right. A hammer, narrow hammer. Got 3 different sizes of hammer there, and I think that this is a shearing foot, but I'm not sure about that. And I've never used these little plates. You have to consult your user manual to tell you how to use those. This one looks like a button sewing foot. Seam guide. Some old vintage buttons down here. I don't know what that is. Looks like it may have been a needle threader at one time. Some thread. Oh, here's the corner of your box. Cool. A little super glue. Be good as new. And a quilting guide. This you can adjust. You can follow your last seam using this guide, so you make parallel seams. Looks like that's about it. So this will come with your machine. So we'll use a manual. And if you've come here from somewhere else on the internet, we are Stagecoach Road Sewing. Actually, we are Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine. But our website is stagecoachroadsewing.com. We're on Stagecoach Road out here in the Coast Range of Oregon. So it's stagecoachroadsewing.com, all one word. And when you go to our website, you will see hundreds, literally hundreds of beautiful vintage machines that we've restored over the last couple of decades. You'll see all ages and styles and colors. Machines from Japan, machines from Switzerland and England and France and Italy, and a lot of really nice old mid-century Japanese machines, but literally hundreds and hundreds of machines that we've restored, and you'll see pictures from all different angles and a little bit of information about each one. And at the top of the page, there are usually 10 or 20 nice vintage machines for sale that you can bring home to your sewing room. So check that out. And again, stagecoachroadsewing.com, and we'll see you there.